John Cook retires, and moments after that announcement is the hiring of Danny Busboom Kelly. The guy calling the shots here is Troy Dannen, athletic director, who's been, I guess, some sleepless nights here the last few days.
Yeah, it's been an emotional week. A little bit of a roller coaster, but it was bittersweet because you lose John from your locker room and there's disappointment. That's the bitterness. But be able to transition to Danny and as quickly and as seamlessly as it seemed to all go, that's the sweet part. So we come out of this in a great place. And Husker volleyball has a special place in the heart of the state, and to be able to make this transition back to one of our alums and beloved players, I don't think we could have asked for anything more.
Troy, John said that it was last Thursday that he came to you and he first mentioned the idea of him retiring. In that moment, what went through your mind?
My heart sunk. I had a pit. I knew when I got here that sooner or later this is a question that was going to face me. But I didn't really want to face it. I wanted him to stay. We gave him the long contract last year. But the fact that quickly, I understood that this is really what he wanted to do, and he's deserved and earned to make that transition when and how he wants to make it. And then as I learned the transition plans that we had in our minds were identical, I was like, okay, let's go. Let's make the best of this. And so over the course of the next week, John was invaluable in getting Danny and I connected, and then making sure we transitioned right for the women in our locker room. As I told him, I said, here's how I might normally do it, but our team. What's the best thing for our team? And John's just been, looking out, not looking out for himself and not saying I need my moment in the sun, I'm going to retire, but it's how do we plan best for the team? How do we transition this and not lose a beat with Husker volleyball?
How do you describe what John Cook has meant to Nebraska volleyball? I know that's kind of a deep and complicated question, but what comes to your mind?
Well, and I just think what he's meant to Nebraska volleyball is that he's so much bigger than Nebraska volleyball. I've described him as, he's the John Wooden in volleyball to what men's basketball. He is Saban to the world of volleyball, and that's how he's viewed nationally. And walking in here and seeing this is a televised press conference on the Big Ten Network with about 75 media members present, that wasn't volleyball before John got involved. And it's not just John, but his dream big, the things he's done, the things he's accomplished, and what he's led this program from an attendance standpoint. I think we set 7 attendance records on the road last year. He's made this something special, but it transcends us to what volleyball has become nationally, and the growth of volleyball, even from 10 years ago to today. John stands at the front of the line of the people responsible for that.
When John tells you that he's going to retire, I'm sure in that moment you recognize the enormity of replacing a legend and how important that hire would be. Yeah. This is about as seamless and as well supported of a situation as anybody could imagine with Danny Busboom Kelly coming here. What's impressed you about her?
Well, I think the most impressive thing about her is an former athlete who is sitting on the bench as assistant coach at most schools, will just bide time and wait out. Hey, when that head coaching job, I will deserve it. I will be entitled to it because I was a player and I was a coach. Mm-hmm. She bet on herself 8 years ago, went to Louisville, and really built and created one of the top programs in the country. And that bet paid off. She has done everything necessary, and it's no entitlement. If she wasn't an alum, if she wasn't a former coach, she should be who we hired because of what she did at Louisville. And now you add the fact that she's an alum, that she's a coach, that her husband played football here, that they live in her husband's family's in Omaha, her family's just down the road in Cortland. It just couldn't be any better. And so, fortunately for all of us, she was ready to come back home. Not everybody's ready to come back home. Not everybody wants to come back home, but she bet on herself, and that bet paid off.
Yeah, but for you, Troy, that took so much pressure off of your plate, right? That she is endorsed by John Cook and she's ready to come.
Well,
and more than qualified for the position.
Yeah, and not so much, pressure off of my plate or anybody else's plate, because, I think this program is positioned to continue to win. Mm-hmm. But because, and I've described John as the psychological leader of the state, the state the state needs somebody it can get behind and wrap its arms around and care about as much as it cares about the program. That's what makes this head coaching job, and maybe even a different head coaching job than any other at the university, and certainly any other nationally. That's what makes it so unique, and that's why, having that alum that comes back, as John and I talked, there's a long list of former coaches who've gone on to great success that would have every reason to say, I could stake claim to that job and I have the resume and the pedigree to do it. But Danny's something special. My only fear in this whole thing was that she was going to say no. And even though I knew she had to carve out in her contract, that was the timing right for her and her family. Did she really want to follow John, or did she want to follow the person to follow John? And so thankfully she said yes.
Pettit put the program at a pretty historic height. John took it even higher. How does Danny elevate Nebraska volleyball even higher?
Well, the first thing she has to do is turn it into her program. It's not Terry's. It's not John's. And John's program was not Terry's. Tom Osborne's program was not Bob Devaney's. And so, and John said this so well today, but embracing it and making it her own. The support and the resources are going to be there for her to maintain the level. She's proven as a recruiter. Everything else is so taking it and then staying one step ahead of the game. And I think that was the thing. If looking back on John, the way he evolved over 25 years is what sets him apart from most coaches who were someplace 25 years. He is not the same guy that he was 25 years ago. The game is not. He evolved with it. And as Danny continues to evolve, understanding what's happening in the game and being the first to get there, and that's part of what we talked about during our interview. And she sees that, and I didn't need to say it to her.
So Danny's got to get on TikTok.
Danny probably,
Might already be
she's
there.
39. She's probably already on TikTok. Yes.
Good. Troy, thank you for the time.